Welcome to the Community Church of Chapel Hill Unitarian Universalist. I am Larry Ross, a member of the Worship Associates Ministry here at the church, and I want to welcome each of you to this very special Sunday online service. 8 coming-of-age youth will share their wisdom. I had the honor to mentor one of them during this COVID year and got to know all the youth involved in the program. You certainly will enjoy their thoughts. I light the chalice with these words from Margaret Mead. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. And now you will hear from Don and Susan Blanchard about the auction.
Good morning. Can you see us now? If you can see us, then you can bid in the Community Church's 2020 Fall Auction. Online bidding started 3 weeks ago and will continue until 8 p.m. on Saturday, October 24th. You do not have to show up to bid. You just have to log into the auctions website from the church's homepage to find the auction catalog. If you had a bidding number last year, you have one now. If not, use the Contact Us button on the website to request one.
The auction catalog contains over 220 items in 15 different categories. More than half of these items are offered at $10 or less. There are physical things, including art, books, food, handmade treasures, household goods, jewelry, music items, plants, and more. There are also meals, services, and events to choose from, plus a condo for your beach vacation.
There is a new opportunity to support the auction by selecting fixed price donations of $10, $25, $50, and $100. There is something for everyone who wants to help support our community church. And there is still time to add more, so enter your donations today.
The auction's goal is to raise $10,000 for the church's operating budget. We are confident that our community will meet and even exceed this goal. We thank everyone who has already participated and hope that more of you will help create a fun-filled bidding frenzy over the next 2 weeks. Remember, vote once, but bid often.
Starting last September, myself and a group of high schoolers met together on Sunday evenings here in the Commons for one of my favorite UU experiences, coming of age. During our time together, we grappled with the big questions, contemplating life and death, good and evil, spiritual and religious. And from this discerning process, our teens began to craft their own unique statements regarding what they believe and value. To offer support throughout this process, each participant had a church mentor, a member of our congregation who engaged them in meaningful reflections to help them with this journey. These partnerships allowed us to engage in our faith's essential practice of the fourth principle, freely and responsibly searching for truth and meaning. If there was ever a time and place to affirm and promote this practice, it is right now. It is a privilege to introduce to you the Coming of Age class of 2020 and their mentors so that we can honor and celebrate their journey as a community.
Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of living, ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet and come, 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 whoever you are,
What is worship? To me, worship is a community. Worship is the ability to praise what you seek to see in the world. What I seek in the world is tolerance, amity, and harmony. Worship is special, a time to seek self-acceptance, to absorb the message and transform it into daily life. Worship has helped me discover that struggle has shaped my personal beliefs as well as into the person I am today. With the sudden loss of my uncle, it rained a cloud of guilt and resentment over me. I began to question if I could have done something different, if I could have prevented it. This is why the church became important to me. The church was filled with welcoming peers as well as welcoming elders. I began to develop friends, as well as learn important lessons of acceptance and the reinforcement of diversity. Throughout the coming-of-age experience, I began to learn that not all grief in my life has been bad. Through the loss of my uncle, I gained a new support system. I noticed growth and opportunities available within my life, and growth of knowledge and understanding of others' hardships as well. In the beginning of quarantine, I began facing new challenges. With the new experience of social isolation brought on a new struggle. I found myself losing motivation and spending more and more time in my bed. I didn't want to do anything and was continuously waking up, just waiting to fall back asleep again. In addition to the months of isolation, I had to get knee surgery, preventing me from doing the one thing that was still connecting me to the outside world. I used to have exercise as an outlet, but now I don't even have that anymore. As I begin to find support for my mental health and physical therapy for my knee, I have begun to wonder how long the process of healing will take. Each experience of grief has been different and brought on different positive outcomes, but when they are least expected. I don't know when it will come for this moment of struggle, but I have faith it will. I have faith that I will gain something positive from this. I'm just waiting to see what it is. The growth of this faith requires self-acceptance through worship and pursuit of change. Worship to me is continuing to have faith throughout times of grief.
Sometimes we meet people and feel a special connection right away. I remember when I met Mara 5 years ago and was fortunate enough to be one of her 5th grade OWL facilitators. I distinctly remember her being delightful and a thoroughly kind and thoughtful participant. Nothing has changed through the years. I've loved seeing and connecting with her at church, and I so appreciate her gentle and steady presence. It has been an honor and a privilege to partner with her through this coming of age experience. Mara, your incredible authenticity is such a gift to the world. I am inspired by your courage and willingness to be vulnerable. Grief fundamentally changes us and our world around us. Things are never the same again. Yet we can choose how to process and manage our grief, either letting resentments and bitterness grow or letting it lead us to deep gratitude. Your ability to find positive outcomes from your intense experience with grief is remarkable. And your instinct to seek comfort and community will always serve you well. My hope for you, dear Mara, is that you will know and trust your own inner strength with a deep and abiding confidence that no matter what life puts in your path, you can and will handle it. And even more than that you will expect to thrive and grow as a result of any challenge you face. Thank you again for the opportunity to be your coming of age mentor and for all your wonderful gifts to the world.
Virginia Woolf once said, "Growing up is losing some illusion in order to acquire others." That stuck out to me because in a way, everyone has their own way of growing up. Learning about your own beliefs is one way of growing. For me, growing up was not only about physical changes, but also about watching my mindset grow up. Learning that life was not always as perfect as I wanted it to be. You couldn't just wish your problems away. Back in the 7th grade, I once told a kid who I babysat a story. It was a story of the giving tree, where the tree had given the kids so many gifts, but the little boy had received the gifts but without any thanks back. It reminded me how easy we could pull back and see that's exactly what we're doing to our earth right now. How life has given us so many beautiful things to enjoy, but we take it for granted. Something I've taken for granted was the amount of time and money we spent on trips as a family. I've complained when we go on long, treacherous hikes that were supposed to last a mile, but end up lasting more. The complaining took my opportunity to see how beautiful the hike really was, and I regret that. When you're young, you think everything will just grow back, and nothing is truly affected until you learn about death. Then your curiosity peaks. When you learn more about how the world changes and the planets, the environment, how nice it is to sit down and not worry about what's on the news, it makes the small things more important, like your daily life, waking up, eating with your family, watching a movie. Every small thing becomes a bigger memory to laugh at and look back at later in your life. So then you realize it's the small things that become the best things. When you grow up, you learn that life is full of memories to live. I make sure I don't take anything for granted with my beliefs. I believe in community, justice, and your own beliefs. I believe in the community, and this church is a big part of why. This church shows people outside the church that we don't just believe in one belief. We believe in many things. That's why community is so important to me. Without community, I would have felt lost and alone. When I first came to the school I'm at now, it was very welcoming, and I didn't feel quite as new as I thought it would feel. The fear I had in unspoken things scared me. But then, when I was there, fear struck me, and I felt a little alone. Until I didn't. I spoke to people. I stood up and said hi. The first hi I'm Seno always changes from the first time I had to say it in 3rd grade. It was a whole new experience, and the Harwich community really made me feel right at home. I believe in justice, because without it, so many things would be left without spoken of. So many of my brave heroes wouldn't have had their moments in the sunlight. They wouldn't have had their moments to say no. Joveng Jovechenko said justice is like a train. It's always nearly late. If there's one thing I've learned about life so far, is that life doesn't stop to help you. It doesn't stop and help life. And that's where I come back to community, and things we do to help our community. Something I had to face growing up is to learn that community/family is so important. Every time I felt like I couldn't do something, I always had somebody who believed in me enough for me to feel like I could. Teachers and parents who believed in my skill set more than I did, and friends who would always be there to brighten up the moments. Even when I felt like I could give up or be a drama queen. I knew I could count on people to help me stick with it, and I'm so grateful for that. Thank you.
Seno, you are a beautiful rising star. You currently reside on the periphery of the universe. This year has been one of a great awakening for you. You have awakened to gratitude for your family and all the love they give you. You have awakened to your friends and your community and the strength they give you. You've seen this year that some young people your age are giving more than you ever imagined. And this has now made you want to give more. For this, I am thankful. Seno, you care about justice and the earth. Both of them need you, and they need your voice and your talents. My wish for you is that you practice speaking up and moving to the center of the circle. That you let people see the beauty that you are and the power that you have. I challenge you to find your voice and use it, either in writing or in speech or both. You can and will make a difference. I've greatly enjoyed being with you and seeing you grow this year. I look forward to watching you on your journey moving towards empowerment. May it be so. Namaste.
When we're little, we believe what the people we look up to believe. They're all we know, and therefore we do our best to follow in their footsteps. Sometimes this is very direct and observable, but most of the time it happens subconsciously. An example of the former was when I was little, probably 4 or 5, and I had a babysitter named Brenda. Brenda was Jehovah's Witness, and often while driving me to school, she would inform me about the world. I remember one day she told me that if I did not believe in God, I would go to hell. So I nodded my head solemnly, not knowing what hell was, but not really wanting to go there, and I decided that I believed in God. Then I grew up and moved away and changed my mind. And I realized in hindsight that Brenda was just doing what she thought was best for me, protecting me. Still, at some point, all people develop their own opinions, as I did. And this comes with time and experience. In fact, I think this is one of the most important things anyone will ever do. We've built everything in our modern world on ideas, because we questioned, pondered, and innovated. This little tendency of ours is connected with everything that makes us special, and our species has the potential to do much more. We are incredibly lucky to be here on this pale blue dot. As far as we know, our planet is 1 in a trillion, and everything here is perfectly aligned so that we can exist. But people haven't been around for very long, and we probably won't be around for that much longer in the grand scheme of things. Yet we insist on fighting over trivial disagreements and futile causes, wasting time that is so precious to us. This idea of an eventual end is sad, but it also bestows a more positive tidbit of philosophy onto us. Time is finite, and we as people get to decide what to do with it, completely arbitrarily. It is our privilege and responsibility to each find our own meaning, and although we got here through chance and luck, we are here nonetheless, and the universe is ours to enjoy. We are a part of it, just like a star or an asteroid, and we hold a unique niche. That niche is not irrelevant. We decide the meaning of life and death, and the entire universe for that matter. Our power is to make our own reality what we want it to be. Our whole purpose is to experience all the joy and happiness we possibly can, while we can, and find peace in the fact that we don't have to be the best or last the longest to succeed. Success as a people means using the time we have to the best of our ability. Do what you love with the people you love. Do what gives you meaning. You get to decide what that is.
It has been a pleasure working with Simon Sexton over these COVID months and learning about his ideas and thoughts for the future. I enjoyed his sophistication and wit. We started this process a year ago, and so much has changed during that time. Our world needs strong leadership, spokespeople for those who are not themselves courageous, to stand up against oppression and promote justice. Simon, with your word skills, you could become that spokesperson. My generation hands to you that responsibility. As the late Reverend Peter Rabel wrote, we build on foundations we did not lay and build across the generations. Therefore, your responsibility as a UU is to uphold our principles and go forward, knowing that we are in this effort together, bound as a community. My charge to Simon is as follows. Keep your sense of humor, maintain your sensitivity towards others, build your own values, beware of false prophets, and support your fellow humans. As you stated, our power is to make the world what we want. Go forward and be mindful of those challenges we will be facing in the future.
Chelsea Handler said, laugh loudly, laugh often, and most importantly, laugh at yourself. I laugh at myself a lot. I also do many things that I regret, as do most people. Regret for past mistakes can cause a lot of stress, and you can beat yourself up over it. I've definitely beat myself up over things that I've done. Many of those things are from years ago, but somehow they still eat me alive. It's really important to be able to cope with regret because as humans, we feel it a lot. Whenever I feel regret, I just laugh. Of course, first I say, okay, let's not do that again, and then later I can laugh. I have found that this way of coping actually works very well. When you look back on something you did, you may see how silly it was, but some things that you regret may not be silly. However, I'm 15 years old, and all the things that I regret are pretty funny when I look back at them. If you've never laughed at yourself, please consider trying it. It's actually quite fun. Laughter, along with being an amazing coping mechanism, is also a way of communication. Sabrina Stierwalt wrote, laughter is a way for us to signal to another person that we wish to connect with them. It is about connecting with other people. This need to connect with people leads to community. I'm sorry to be the one to tell you this, but there are some things in this world that you cannot do yourself. Laughter not only strengthens the community that can help you with those things, but it can also create it. My closest friends right now are the ones that I laughed with the moment we met. I think that if quarantine taught us anything, it's that most people need to have social interaction. Laughing with someone is the best social interaction you can have. You are also 30 times more likely to laugh in a group. I know that I laugh the most when I'm around people. Emotions seem to be very contagious. We reflect what others feel. For me, laughing and smiling is really contagious. If someone is laughing, I will at least smile. So laughing is not only healthy for you, it's healthy for the people around you. Along with being just all around amazing, laughing is also a way to express yourself. Like Sabrina Stierwalt said, it's about signaling to another person. I laugh a lot, and after doing some research, I've come to the conclusion that I do this because my mom won't let me dye my hair bright pink, so I use laughter to express myself instead. Finally, laughter is very good for your health. It relaxes your body, boosts your immune system, protects the heart, and lightens anger. If I'm stressed, laughing helps a lot. Like when I found out my swim team was dissolving. I was really upset and stressed about what I'm going to do next. But I just had to get on social media and laugh, and I cheered myself up for the time being. Most of the time, when I'm not feeling it, I can often make myself feel worse. I don't feel like laughing. But if I open myself up to the idea of laughing and not necessarily force myself to laugh, then I'm more likely to laugh if I see something funny. And for me, when I laugh, I feel way better. Laughing is like an escape from all the awful things going on. It's an outlet, and sometimes we need a way out. Laughter is beyond beneficial for anyone. And as Charlie Chaplin said, a day without laughter is a day wasted.
Olivia, my friend, I believe we met when you were about 4 years old, probably hiding behind your mom's leg. I've watched you over the years, growing and changing, carefully observing, letting the 4 other people in your family lead the way, often with strong opinions. You've become a young woman, a swimmer, a church-loving communitarian, a friend, and a confidant to the people close to you. What a joy to get to know you in a different way during this coming-of-age year. Goofing, laughing, and sincerely pursuing the answers to the faith questions we were given to explore. I've witnessed you taking the risks of investigating your own story, the places and times in life when you have felt challenged or down, as well as up. You've come to some strong understandings about what you need and how to take care of yourself. Laughing, connecting to other people, listening, and sharing are some of the gifts that you use in your self-care. Olivia, my charge to you is to keep pursuing your story. Keep up your courageous willingness to know and understand yourself, and keep sharing your listening with others.
Anything can happen if you let it.
Sometimes things are difficult, but you can bet it doesn't have to be so.
Changes can be made.
You can move a mountain if you use a larger spade.
Anything can happen, it's a marvel.
You can be a butterfly,
or just a marvel.
Stretch your mind beyond fantastic.
Dreams are made of
strong elastic.
take some sound advice and don't forget it.
Anything can happen if you let it.
If you reach for the stars, all you get are the stars. But we've found a whole new space.
If you reach for the heavens, you get the stars thrown in. Anything can happen if you let it. What good is a whistle unless you wet it?
seems certain. Sally forth the way we're steering. Obstacles start disappearing. Go and chase your dreams, you won't regret it. Anything can happen. Anything can happen. Anything can happen if you let it.
Throughout my life, I have always pursued happiness. When I was young, I figured I wanted to have lots of money. If I wanted things that cost money, then with money, I could get what I want and be happy. As I got older, I reconsidered. If people who were rich weren't happy all the time, why would I be happy when I was rich? I think people want money and wealth to get what they desire, but oftentimes what we desire and what will bring us joy are different things. This has made me rethink what I want. I don't think happiness is derived from material wealth, but rather it comes from experience. However, I do think experiences that come from material wealth can create happiness. An example is my bike. I've loved mountain biking since the 6th grade, and around the 7th grade I decided I wanted to upgrade. I shopped and saved for about a year and a half before buying, but just owning the bike doesn't bring me joy. The experience I've gained from using it is what makes it worth it. I've never been set on what I want to be when I grow up. I've thought about being a surgeon or lawyer, but years of school don't appeal to me. I want to work in a job I enjoy. I don't want to work in a job I don't enjoy or have a passion for, to enjoy the time I spend off work. Having half my life be enjoyable while dreading going back to work just doesn't sound appealing. I've already done it through school. When I grow up, I want to get a job I'm passionate about. I'm still waiting to find a profession I enjoy, but when I do, that is what I want to be when I grow up. So when I need to determine what to do or buy, I try to consider my real end goal, happiness. What do I gain from buying or doing this? Perhaps I could save that money or spend it somewhere else. To conclude, I believe in happiness and the process of making deliberate decisions to create happiness.
Harrison Clark is not just smart, he is wise. So as part of the coming-of-age process, we do an exercise that asks us, how would we deal with a factory that is polluting the river of the town we live in? And normally, as you would expect from a bunch of UU kids, we get answers that talk about actuating people and group discussions and negotiating with the factory. Harrison Clark did not believe in any of that. No. His solution, elegant and simple, was to reroute the pollution further down the river and closer to the state capital. When asked why he felt this was the best course of action, he was incredulous. Why not? This immediately solves our town's problem, and it puts it in the hands of the capital. And when it affects them, they will handle it. That is typical Harrison Clark. I recognize that the point of a charge is for me to convey what I saw and valued about the mentee that I was working with. And as I was preparing this, I realized that to do this effectively, I might as well just use the actual things that Harrison said to me during the coming-of-age process. So these are direct quotes. Quote, "I don't like labeling things good or bad. That is my opinion, which can change, and who knows?" Quote, "I believe in being content with what you have." Quote, "I want to live simply. I want to live through experiences and not the accumulation of possessions." Quote, "I bought a bike. I was happy with the purchase for a while. Then it became just a bike. I washed it today, and now it is a clean bike. But it is still just a bike. My happiness comes in riding the bike." And finally, quote, "When you die, there is nothing. It is like going to sleep. but forever. I find peace in that. Harrison, you are creative. You are thoughtful. You are funny. I charge you with keeping the balance you have between not just being smart, but being wise.
Ever since I can remember, I've loved listening to stories. I have ADHD, and it was one of the few times I could sit still. People couldn't read to me all the time, though. The problem with that is that I also have dyslexia, so I have a lot of trouble learning to read. I remember one day I found a book on our bookshelf. It had fancy letters, it was tattered and old with a reddish-brown cover. I asked my mom about it, and she said it was a book about a detective who solved mysteries named Sherlock Holmes. I asked my mom if she would read it to me, and she said no. I asked if she would read it to me later, and she said no. You can read it yourself when you learn to read. I was upset. I didn't want to learn to read. It was difficult and frustrating, and I'd rather play outside. But then she said, when you learn to read, you can read any book you want to. Learning to read is like a key which unlocks a whole new world. When it was time for me to start school, I wanted to be homeschooled. I remember sitting at the kitchen table, learning the letters and sounds. That was pretty easy. Then I remember sitting on the couch trying to read a story about Jack and Jill. It was so hard and frustrating that I memorized this story and my mom thought I was reading it. One day, while I was in the car with my dad and siblings, I recited the whole story. My dad told my mom, and so we moved on to other stories in that book. Eventually, I told my mom I didn't want her to teach me to read. In 3rd grade, I went to a Montessori school, and I had to learn to read there. I could read simple stuff, but harder words were difficult and frustrating. By then, I was diagnosed with dyslexia, and so I worked with easy teachers. One of them was named Miss Caroline. I didn't want to do a lot of the work she asked me to do, but we became really close. I didn't read chapter books on my own until 5th grade. I had had trouble reading them in the past and was discouraged. My siblings and I listened to a lot of audiobooks. I listened to Where the Mountain Meets the Moon twice on CD. When I saw it on my classroom's bookshelf, I thought I'd give it a try. It was a long book, over an inch thick. This time I could read it and understand it. After that, my teachers had a hard time getting me not to read in class. Not everything comes easy. Not everything comes easy. My cousin, who is a year younger than me, learned to read way before I did. I wondered why he could read and I couldn't. My mom said some people are better at some things and worse at others. You might be better at reading, but you're better at something else. That's the same for everyone. We all have our strengths and weaknesses. You just might not see them at first. In the EC room, when I was working with Miss Caroline, there were other kids working there too. Sometimes people made assumptions about them before getting to know them. One of my friends there had autism. He is super funny and nice and great to talk to. A few of the kids in his class made fun of him behind his back or treated him differently without getting to know him. Luckily, the teachers were nice and supportive and talked to the kids who were being mean. When you get to know someone in a small setting like an EC room, you can take time to really get to know them and learn a lot. I realized that people can kind of be like a book. The cover is what you see. It has the title on the front and the description on the back. The description tells you some about the main character, but you have to really read the book to understand what the main character is really like. Not everything comes easy. That might be reading the book of someone else, but you have to keep working at it. Now that I've mostly overcome the challenge of dyslexia, I can start to appreciate the gift of having it. Dyslexia makes reading harder, but it allows my mind to think in different ways from people without it. Everyone is really good at something, even if you can't see it at first. You just have to keep looking.
Avis, being your mentor this year has been such a joy and an honor. There are so many moments I will treasure. Remember right at the beginning of coming of age, we had to build a tower with marshmallows and raw spaghetti, and you and I won the contest. We had the tallest, most steady tower. That was the first time I have ever been on a winning engineering team. It was the first time I got to see how natural a visual and spatial thinker you are. I just followed your lead. I was so impressed with your ability to figure it out so quickly and then explain it to me so I knew just what to do. It was a great beginning to a wonderful year. I got to see you play basketball and we had many interesting conversations. I also saw you struggle gracefully with a severe concussion that led to a year of migraines. Every week, I asked you about your head, thinking that because of your smile that you were feeling better, and every week you said, "Things are just the same, my head still hurts." Every Sunday you came up to me and said, "What can I do to help?" Every Sunday. I admire what a deeply kind and wise person you are. You listen so carefully to what other people say, and then you speak carefully too. Your ideas are kind and your words are kind too. I continue to be impressed by your integrity. It's funny, we think the mentor is a teacher, but so often when I get to be a mentor, I am the one learning. I've learned so much from you this year, Avis. For me, being a mentor is more like being a companion on a path than being a teacher, and I have loved being your companion in coming of age. Avis, you are an artist, a writer, an engineer, a reader, and a thinker. You have a brave and adventurous spirit. My charge to you is to keep using your beautiful mind to create and build, and to keep using your kind and wise heart to love and nurture yourself and those around you. I wish you roots that grow deeper and that your wings will take you far. I love you, Avis. You are a blessing in this world.
Why are we here? How do we live well? And what is the right thing to do? I believe that in this complicated world, the most right thing we can do as humans is to learn all we can, every single day. Because our desire for knowledge is what truly defines us, and our ability to learn from mistakes is what truly makes us human. I love school, and while this is not a sentiment shared by the majority of my peers, I have my reasons. The more we learn and know and get wrong, the more ability to do the right thing grows. Because the right thing is not set in stone. It changes, ebbing and flowing with the people it affects and the situations it encounters. This is precisely why we must learn, however, because as our logic grows, so too does our empathy. Every human on the planet has an inherent desire to learn, a curiosity that, if harnessed, leads to great and impactful choices. Gandhi, King, Einstein, all of these people had a fundamental understanding of the world, a curiosity and drive that led them to world-changing action. Not an inability to make mistakes, and certainly not the ability to be perfect. No, but the ability to learn without ego or contempt. As our understanding of the world's intricacies grow, so too does our ability to make great change. Despite these people, there are some awful people in the world. Or are there? I don't believe in awful people. Good and evil, they don't exist. The entirety of human action is in shades of gray, and it's never as simple as it seems. I believe that those so-called evil people, They simply don't understand, so I try my very best to understand for them. I believe that everybody, given enough understanding of their setting and actions, would do the right thing, or at least attempt to. When we know more, when we are more practiced, we are able to make decisions that we and others feel proud of, knowing that we did the most right thing we could with the experience we had. There's a beautiful metaphor for our learning, and for the concept of the practicing mind that I referenced earlier. It's one of a circle. A massive forest stretches on into the night, unseen by us, and as the day breaks, rays of light peek through the trees. As the light expands, we are able to see more and more of the forest floor, our awareness ever expanding, and exploration of its contents ever growing. But there is a darkness, one that we cannot know, just beyond the light. As our total grasp of what we know grows, the amount of things we feel we must learn, quite frankly, and get wrong, does too. The circumference of that circle of light, pitch black with questions, ever expanding. Each new thing we learn is replaced by two new things we do not yet know. But this is the very reason why we must persist, not because it is easy, but because it is hard. And those who learn must transport their knowledge into the minds of a new generation, because that is our future. Our purpose on this planet, this little blue marble in space, is to learn and to practice. Through knowledge and understanding, we soar to new heights, achieving things our ancestors never dreamed of, becoming people who are enlightened, kind, strong, and willing to become even better. I love school, and now this may begin to make some more sense. My schooling experience has been great, don't get me wrong, but that's not what I love. What I truly love is the idea of school, that the greatest minds of the previous generation will band together to fill the heads and hearts of a new one. Without these people, we would be nothing, and they have done the most right thing. To explore and share knowledge is to save the world and its future. Our people, our planet, and everything in between is all held together by the knowing and learning that binds us. Without it, we would truly be lost. So next time you're upset, or worried, or just plain angry, next time you're stuck in traffic, or can't even find the time to wash your hands, try to understand. Learn all you can, and make as many mistakes as possible, because I believe that something truly great will come of it. It is your turn to do what you're here for. It's your turn to do the most right thing, because our future truly does depend on it. Thank you.
I see in you an earnest and thoughtful young person who is dedicated to learning as much as he can to help make better life decisions. As you say in your Credo, quote, "The more we learn and know, the more our ability to do the right thing grows," end quote. In living out your Credo, you are embodying the fourth Unitarian Universalist principle, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. You appreciate the importance of transmitting knowledge from one generation to the next. So my first charge to you is to share your knowledge with others, your family, friends, and the wider community. I also see in you someone who is moved by the awe of the natural world, as expressed in your Credo metaphor of the dawn light illuminating the dark forest. This awe, this feeling, is not knowledge per se, but it is equally valuable. So my second charge to you is to continue to learn not only to learn as much as you can from school, but also to keep your heart open to experiences and feelings beyond book learning. Integrate the two sources into your whole person. Then, whatever comes your way, you will be able to listen to both your head and your heart. You will be as authentic as you can be.
I go to visit my grandparents at least twice a year, over Christmas and the 4th of July. When I was a kid, I would wake up every day at about 4 or 5 in the morning. This was the same time that my grandma would be awake, and when we were at her house, so every morning for a week over Christmas, I would wake up and go out to her sitting room. Every morning for a week, I would get a hearty breakfast of peanut butter toast and whatever part of the Bible she was reading. Outside of my grandma's house, I didn't have any religious influence. We didn't go to church, and my parents are very indifferent about that sort of thing. So it was new, it was interesting, and I was into it. A little later in my life, I'd say I was 10 or 11, I started going to a Christian summer camp with her. She went there as a child, and my mom wanted me and my sister to go because it would make her happy. I love summer camp, and if I remember correctly, this would have been my first sleepaway, so I was completely down. That was the first place I realized that the stories my grandma had told me were things that people followed. I don't really know what I thought they had been. I mean, I was anywhere from 8 to 10 when I started listening to them, so I didn't really know how to think. I guess I thought that they were fiction. So that was pretty eye-opening. I'm agnostic, by the way, but my willingness to fall in love with any story that I watch or read has made my belief journey very difficult. It's hard to pick out the difference between stories that I like and things I actually believe, especially religiously. I can count multiple times where I've read a book or watched a movie with a defined belief system and thought, that's pretty dope, maybe I'll give it a shot. As far as what I've managed to pick out, I believe that we exist by nature and will return to nature when we die. If we have a soul, that soul will continue to exist simply because energy can't be created or destroyed, and it either re-enters the energy cycle as something else or lingers. And if we don't have souls, our bodies will provide energy for the earth in different ways. I'm certainly open to the idea of an entity or God. You just have to take the right steps to convince me. I would say if it can be proven, but there are some things I put my faith in that can't be proven, not concretely anyway. I like to think about the stories that have influenced my beliefs. A book I finished a few months ago helped mold my philosophical beliefs, and articles and discussions I've read on the internet have made my political beliefs what they are today. And I'm sure fairy tales I read as a child are part of the reason I'm as creative and imaginative as I am. All in all, if you feed me a story, it has a very high chance of persuading me to believe something. But once I hold on to a belief for too long, it's impossible to get it out of me.
Hey, Sid. It's been a treat to be your mentor for coming of age this year. It was a delight to wrestle with the big questions with you and to also veer off into talking about our experiences playing D&D, all while being solid enough students to shift back in time to have something on topic to share with the broader group each time we met. Geeky overachievers unite. In writing my charge for you, my aim is to give you something to inspire you, just as my time working with you has been an inspiration to me, especially your Credo, which is amazing, by the way. So I was thinking about our shared experiences and enjoyment of Dungeons & Dragons and other role-playing games, and I would like to build you a character sheet for your future, to give you a little bit of bardic inspiration to all your abilities as you head out into the world with a mask and 6 feet apart. Sid, I wish you strength to overcome any pressure you might put on yourself or the pressure you might get from others to be anything other than who you truly are. The dexterity to continue to shift in the face of new information and evidence and to always roll with the punches. The constitution to stay radical and continue to be a person of conscience and clarity in a world that doesn't always reward that gift. The wisdom to recognize what is your truth, what is valuable, and what is not, and what is worthy of your attention. The intelligence to continue to write your story, to know what to keep in and what to set aside as you grow, and to continue to share that story with others in a profound way. And the charisma to be unafraid to share that gift with others because it's inspiring, it's strong, it's powerful stuff. So Sid, as one of the older young people in coming of age this past year, you're closer to heading off than many of the others, but I wish you well. I think you're going to do great. And I'm excited to hear and learn about the new stories you come across and the story you continue to write for yourself. Thank you for sharing with me, sharing with the group and with our church community. I'm grateful for my time being your mentor and that you were my mentee, and I wish you all the best. Thanks for being you.
Each week, we hold in our service a time for sharing the joys and sorrows of our church community. This past week, several members of the church reached out to me asking me to place stones for their sorrows and their joys. First stone that's placed this morning is placed for Sandy Peterson. Sandy writes, "My 21-year-old granddaughter, Silja, recently entered a drug treatment center in California. Her family is supportive, but it's been a long road. And there's much healing that's necessary for her to reconcile with her parents and siblings and to rebuild those relationships. We ask for prayers this morning for Sandy's granddaughter, Silja, and her family." Dawn and Susan Blanchard asked me to place a stone for a great joy. They are celebrating their 40th wedding anniversary, 40 years of marriage today, October 11th. And they comment that life is good. Congratulations, Dawn and Susan. We place a stone this morning for Connie Gates. Connie's a long-time part of our church community and a long-time part of the social justice community in the wider area. Connie's in the hospital with stage 4 cancer, and we hold her in our heart's love. A final stone is placed this morning for all those joys and sorrows which were not spoken, that we hold in our hearts. As today is our coming of age service, I ask you to join with me in a time of blessing for coming of age. Coming of age is always filled with challenges, and you, this year's class, you're coming of age during an especially challenging time. This work of clarifying your beliefs, asking questions, deep questions about meaning and purpose, and boldly claiming your commitments and values, it is so important. You've inspired us with your courageousness and your openness. What I wish for you, what I pray for you is a lifetime of engagement. Keep questioning, keep wrestling with the big questions. I wish for you not a lonely struggle, but connection with a community of fellow seekers. As your mentors have played a powerful role challenging you to better articulate your beliefs, I pray that you will step into that role, helping to encourage the younger generation and finding satisfaction in their searching. And I pray that you know your entire church community, Dana and Marion and myself, your peers, your mentors, your parents, your siblings, this entire congregation is holding you in love. Thank you for sharing your journey with us. Amen. Blessed be. Please join with me in the words by which we extinguish the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Now please join in singing Shalom.